Hey there, literary citizens! So, aside from the 5 literary resolutions that I mentioned a few weeks ago, another thing that I'm gonna do this year is to start sharing with you all the books that I read every month. Partly because I realized I hadn't done any book reviews yet, which is totally subpar for a literary vlog, and partly because promising you that I'll do these reviews will help me keep up with my reading goals. So without further ado, here is your very first reading roundup. In the month of January, I read 3 books, the first of which was Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Myracle. This book features 3 interconnected love stories that all take place in the same town on Christmas Eve, and like most young adult romances, it's full of awkward flirting, inevitable miscommunication, meaningful realizations, and adorable happy endings. Each story focuses on a different group of friends that all go to the same high school, so the characters all sort of know each other, at least indirectly, and in that way, it kind of feels like the movie Love Actually. I haven't read too many other anthologies with an interconnected structure like this, and so I'd really love to know what the writing process was like for this book. I didn't like Myracle's story quite as much as I liked John Green's or Maureen Johnson's, but overall this was still a pretty solid book if you like short stories, teen romance, and the spirit of the holiday season. So I'm way behind the bandwagon on this one, but I also recently read Divergent by Veronica Roth. This is the part where I have to admit that I'm not a huge fan of the Hunger Games, and I think part of the reason I stayed away from Divergent for as long as I did was because it felt so similar to the Hunger Games on many levels. Obviously, it's part of the same female-led action dystopian YA genre, but also so many of my friends love Divergent in the same way that they love the Hunger Games, and after being let down by the latter, I just didn't want to expect too much from another book that had been incredibly hyped up. Luckily, I did enjoy Divergent more than I thought I would, though this trend of writing novels in first-person present tense will forever irritate me. But for the most part, I found the world interesting, the characters likable, or at least relatable, and the plot relatively unpredictable, so I'm looking forward to reading the next 2 books in the trilogy and seeing the movie when it comes out in March. And finally, I just finished Writing Down the Bones by Natalie Goldberg, which I can now say is one of the few writing guides that I actually loved reading. Most of the writing books that I've encountered are entirely pretentious and condescending, which really just makes me want to punch the author in the face instead of listening to anything that they have to say. But thankfully, this book stayed well away from that. It does feel more aimed at people who write poetry and nonfiction rather than fiction, but there is a great list of prompts that you can use to apply to your characters' lives rather than your own if you so choose. In addition to the straight-up writing advice, this book is also about what it means to be a writer, and I really appreciated the sections that focused on how to live life as someone who expresses themselves through words. Writing tends to be a lonely process, and sometimes when you're wrestling with questions about your art and what your purpose is and why you even bother writing at all, it's just nice to have a reminder that you're not alone in the world, and this book is great at being that reminder. If you've read any of these books, leave us a comment with your review and let me know if you have any suggestions for things that I should read next month. Please click the like button and subscribe to our channel, and if you're in the Portland area, you should definitely come check out Late Night Library's reading event called 2 from Out of Town, which will be held next Thursday, February 6th at Literary Arts. More information in the description below, and don't forget to stay literary. I read 3 books, the first of which was Let It Go, Let It Snow, short stories, teen romance, and happy Christmas music things. I know I hold this book so that I don't put my fingers over the title. I don't know. Like this. Next Thursday, February 6th,